Oh my god. It's daily time. Oh, let me just, let me just do a little cracking of the various things. Oh. What? Only one? Only one? Okay, look. This is Day 9 Daily, number 645. We are going to learn to be a better gamer today. But not before we learn to be a better fashion person. Notice how well the shoe matches the shirt. This is actually a nice shade of blue. Goes with the blue here, and this is brown, goes with the brown. My pants also have a little bit of a brown hue to them. Which, now that it's left my mouth, sounds like I recently shit my pants. But in fact, they're just kind of a browner jean color. Even the stitching's brown. Ooh. Dat fashion. Yeah, the Day 9 eye for the straight guy. Very good. In today's daily, we're going to watch an unbelievable game from the Dong. Jaedong, who took down Liquid TaeJa, one of the best ZVTers in the world. Excuse me, one of the best TVZers in the world. Jaedong did so with just absolutely impeccable transitioning up his tech tree, amazing counterattacks, and adjustment of his composition based upon where this, that, and the other was attacking him when. We'll talk a little bit more about that soon. So thrilled to see you. I'm in such a fantastic, stellar mood. I dare say I feel bejugular. Because Jaedong has long been one of my favorite players ever. One thing that I think is just historically kick-ass about Jaedong is that his game versus Protoss was considered just completely awful. Like, bad. And then in WCS Season 2, near the end, completely reshaped it to something that not only started to win a whole bunch of games, but also we'd never really seen before. It was hot. This weird being at like 110 supply and just stockpiling larvae and stockpiling money and just waiting to see what came out. What? Who does that? The Dong does that. And then we got the chance to see another Achilles heel form at the end of WCS, his Zerg versus Terran. He went 0-4 in the finals versus Polt, 0-4 in the Season 2 Global Finals versus Bomber, and he seemed to be just totally dead in the water, Amanda. Fortunately for us, Jaedong has really turned things back around and is just looking hot. And this is what I have always loved about Jaedong. When everyone says you can't do blank, Jaedong finds a way. Jaedong always finds a way. He's like a lost puppy. They don't always find the way. Sometimes they get tired and they lie down. What always finds the way? What always finds the way? I don't remember. Nature. Nature always finds a way. Oh, nature always finds a way. That's very different from a puppy. Love always finds a way. The thing, I can't actually say love always finds a way because there's that one guy who's been recently dumped in chat who's like, love most certainly does not always find a way. Does it, Felicity? And everyone's like, oh shit, that guy. Jurassic Park said that life always finds a way. Yes, life according to Dr. Ian Malcolm. Thank you. This is great. Wow. Anyways, Friday I'll be playing Grand Theft Auto 5. Wednesday and Thursday we'll be doing more WCS NA round of 16. This weekend I'll be at Red Bull HQ doing a little bit of cast and coverage, this, that, and the other, so I hope to see you there. Fun Day Monday next week is the Mass Contaminate Fun Day Monday. Trumpet M Cool, please remind me. Actually, Marth, I see you in chat. Marth, please remind me post daily to put that up on my own website. Can you send out a reminder to get me to do my job? Can you just do that for me? Just set that, oh, Trumpet M Cool. Okay, cool. Can everyone who has my Skype just message me and tweet at me when the daily's done, please? Let's talk about Zerg vs. Terran, shall we? Of course we shall. You don't have any power here. This is my show. That's right. Twitch TV, where egos are born. Trademark. This is some good water. You know, Zerg vs. Terran is a is a weird matchup for the last few months. It has been painfully weird. Most people would claim, actually that's a bold statement, people have claimed that it is the most interesting matchup because it's the most micro-intensive. There's an endless stream of Marine Mine Medevac for Terran, an endless stream of Ling, Baneling, Mutalisk for Zerg. And the question is, who can position themselves and do the tens of engagements all game long properly and get those little edges over time to secure the win. And although that sounds good on paper, what we've sort of seen is a stagnation of the matchup, where it's just this one never-ending engagement that sort of continues to abide by a similar set of rules, and then it's done. It didn't seem like there was enough room for subtlety or innovation, at the very least. This game, we're going to see the opposite of that. Let me actually go ahead and hop into this game, so that way it's not just a static camera on my ever-spherical face. I mean, seriously, guys. Right here, 4/3 pi r cubed. Let's be honest. I look like a very poor MS Paint drawing brought to life. So, the reason that a lot of people, I would say, especially some of the less nuanced observers, like people who are just casual and watching, is that it seems like the Zerg is just going to go Ling, Baneling, Muta, and the Terran is just going to go Marine, Medevac, Mine, and there's even the same compositions of things. It's like 4 hatches, one being a macro hatch, and like 2 Evo chambers or something. Maybe the Evo chambers are here. Everything continues to sort of look the same in and out. But we're going to be noticing a lot of very interesting ordering that's going to be happening. So we'll begin to actually see that the subtlety is increasingly apparent. We'll talk about that subtlety that you should be admiring and what's so awesome about it. This is their game on Whirlwind. They were tied 1-1 in the winner's match. Whoever won here advanced to the round of 8. Whoever lost had to fight again, or as I like to call it, again. And let's be honest, Jaedong wins. So first and foremost, we see Jaedong does a 10 pool. This is an opening that we don't really see very much, but is increasingly common on this map because of the fact that Terran players really like to command center first on the low ground. Players have become a little bit more conservative. Players like Flash have shown that, yeah, even if you're pretty damn sure you're going to get attacked, just build the command center up on the high ground, and you'll be gravy. Now, I don't know what other players think of this, but I'm kind of a fan of the command center here, and then, or if you can, command center and then barracks, just to make sure that the amount of space... Actually, never mind, that's the optimal angle for this situation. Okay, just ignore everything that I've just got done saying. It doesn't matter. So Jaedong is just going to spring forward with some Zerglings, and I think most boldly that we notice from this opening is that Jaedong actually makes up to 8 Zerglings. There's some, what I would call autopilots that really catch a lot of people doing this build. And by a lot of people, I do mean a lot of people. Normally when I say a lot of people, I mean someone who's learning, who's maybe like Platinum, who's like an aspiring Diamond League player. But I mean like GSL Code S players do this a lot. To be good at something as tough as StarCraft, you have to automate some processes in your head, such as building overlords. So every build order that you do, the higher and higher you climb, the more you'll be aware, I must not forget Overlord. But here we see that this is a tool that you can use in order to subtly get more ahead. Jaedong, stockpiling Larvae, is going to be not building the Overlord in favor of getting this hatch. There's an even subtler layer of subtlety, which is a really pretentious-ass thing to say. There's some seriously cute shit going on here that we got to take note of, which is a notion called losing Larvae, which is that if we get to 3 Larvae here and we don't do anything, the larva that this hatchery auto-generates won't pop out. Right now, because there's 2, we're definitely going to be able to get this other larva to pop out So I want to just spend a brief period looking here and ignoring this rush. Because I've talked briefly about that 8th Zergling, but not much else beyond. If we have our hatch idle for too long, we're going to lose larvae. Right now, this hatch is not gearing up to spawn any additional larvae because there are 3 here. So fortunately, Jaedong, by building this, drops to 17 supply and can begin to try to catch up in larvae. Give me the larva. Give me the larva. Crap. How do I... Okay, there we go. Now I have them all selected. I have to hit the B button. So, okay, come on, and right now, there we have the 3 larvae. So it's easy to look at this scenario and say, okay, the absolute correct thing to do is now to wait until I have enough money to build an overlord, and then to build it, and then to build a drone, so I'm at 18 of 18. But Jaedong, notice, is going to build the drone right away. See this cocoon right here? This is so there's only about 5 seconds or so where this hatch is not, where this hatch is not generating extra larvae. Right now, it's all the way back to usual larva generation. We save up, we get an overlord. There it is coming out. And in this meantime, while we wait, we can do an extractor trick again and not really lose that much at all, because extractor tricking is basically free for Zerg. Right in this period again, we are losing larvae, but just for a few seconds. These are the sorts of really interesting considerations that this build is doing. Notice again that Jaedong is actually hovering at about 2 idle larvae with this opening that he's doing. Which is okay, because he's not losing any. He's eventually going to spend those, but by having 2 larvae sitting max, he has not lost any larvae. See what I mean? Pretty cool, right? Subtle yet effective. This is a way where you'll see a very good player be able to have 2 extra drones or so, and everyone else who has built whenever they had the funds still not quite have as many drones. It's very subtle. Yet in this extreme early game, it's going to have a huge impact, because if you can get 2 extra drones, that's 80 extra minerals a minute. So that's like an extra overlord a minute. And there's those Zergs who get supply blocked all the time watching, who are like, oh, impossible! Alright. So we've been doing subtle things, but you know what? I'm a blunt man. Let's rewatch this. So it's very common to do a rush with just 6 Zerglings and halt. These 2 extra Zerglings, as researched by StarTale Life extensively, prove to be quite a lot more effective. Especially because you can get a full surface area of 8 Zerglings to be dealing damage in this entire space right here, if you just pack these a little tighter. This is great! So we already have 3 that have been sent off-world to do other things. See how there's 7 attacking? If they're packed a little tighter, that 8th duder can get in there right here. So, Jaedong does the stuff that is very common with this build. And this is what's very, very good about having 8 lings. We can apply pressure a little bit more strongly. So cool, we've looked at this opening from Jaedong. He does another thing that's quite common. He gets an extractor at 415 just to ensure that he can get himself up some gas. He has just a single queen and is bouncing back and forth, injecting larvae and coming back. So that way he can pick off any scout, which indeed he did. And Jaedong just pokes up here. Why at this point in time? Because he will almost certainly see if there's a factory or not. If Jaedong pops up here and doesn't see this, oh damn, is that a tell. That is the tellest of tells. Your opponent is doing one of 2 things. Getting a 3rd command center, or throwing down a bunch of barracks. And always remember, whenever there is a list of possibilities, there is a n+1th possibility. There's an extra asterisk possibility that would be listed as a footnote in Wikipedia. It is always possible that your opponent is doing something fucking bad. It's always possible. It's always reasonable. So for instance, here, if we get up here and we see only these 3 buildings, he either is building a command center here, or hiding some barracks here, or he built a factory here. And he's going to have to lift it and then slowly fly it all the way up here and land it. Which is bad. And I will say here to you, don't worry about him being bad. If you account for the good possibilities, you will by default beat the bad ones. Mind games. Alright, speeding it up, speeding it up. Speed wee doo bop wop dee boo. We're watching Mr. Jaedong. We're watching Mr. Jaedong. So we can actually see that metabolic boost is going to be done by 8 minutes. It's just good to have that done early on. But already we see interesting things happening from Monsieur Jaedong. Things that most Zerg players would never do. If we actually look at our mini-map, most frequently there's like the line between our forces. And of course, you know, if there's an army here and an army there, we'll just draw a line like this. But, you know, the line between, I guess the expansions is what I want to say, will be generally like this, and it might have some tilt to it based upon where the armies are. But most Zerg players will move like this and back. They'll move perpendicular to this line of where the bases are. Jaedong gets way the hell out of the way over here, and he's going to be doing this throughout. He's going to be leveraging the fact that most strategy is actually based upon this assumption that things are controlled back. So look, Jaedong, he's actually going to be sneaking his way up here a little bit. Checking to see if there's a third, and look at him, he's pulling laterally away. He's not retreating back into his main. Now, if you know your timings, you know that an early expanding player, he's gonna get Hellions out by around 6:15. So Jaedong doesn't actually need a Zergling here. What would it see? It would see exactly what he knows coming. And he's seen that there's a factory. I've cleverly moved the production tab so that way you will pay attention. Pay attention to me. Haha, the power. So Jaedong's getting an extra queen up. Very common to defend against Hellions while spreading creep. We also see a third hatch. Now, if I remove the game timer, this is an extremely standard looking Zerg. Has gathered just enough gas to get metabolic boost. Has a queen and a queen injecting larvae. Maybe some extra queens coming up to deal with creep spread. And soon enough, what do you know, he's going to be throwing down 2 evolution chambers. Everything makes damn sense. Everything just makes total freaking sense. It's easy. This is what every Zerg does. And then soon enough a layer and all that other jazz. So I talked about this in a daily a few days back, the idea of convergence. It doesn't matter if we opened up 10 pool, hatch first, 3 hatch before pool, any of that bidness. What do you know? It all sort of converges back to the same thing. So cool, I am going to begin opening this back up again so I can speed it up. So Jaedong is just doing smart spreading, and notice that if any Hellions do show up, he's going to be in perfectly fine and perfectly acceptable shape. So Jaedong, if he sees some Hellions arrive here, this Zergling counterattack, albeit very small, is going to be quite deadly. Jaedong has enough defense for the Hellions. And now Jaedong is going to see these Vikings and probably say, huh, is this a window of opportunity? He's starting to actually wonder what the heck is going on. This is not exactly the just, well, I always send my Overlord in at 7:36 and then I just pray. It's not quite as simple as that. He is saying, what the hell's going on? I don't see any Hellions. I need to back up just a little bit to make this point. So we have the Zerglings here. If Hellions are seen here, then the Zerglings marching into this front right here are going to be very, very, very strong. Similarly, though, When Jaedong doesn't know what's up, he can send the Overlord in the back and send the Zerglings in the front. He waits until the Overlord has been seen. TaeJa, being a good player, is highly likely to have begun sending Marines up this way. So then the Zerglings, which by the way just got speed, have the opportunity to run up and do damage, or this Overlord is going to be able to scout. One of those two things will happen. We're either not going to know what's going on, but we're going to kill off a lot in the back, or we're going to see everything that's going on, and we're going to lose our Zerglings at the front. One of the two is going to happen. Now, in terms of some of the rearrangement, we've been talking a lot about the positioning and stuff that's been going on at the front, ode to base. Now, in this spot, what's Jaedong to do next? We know we eventually want 1/1 upgrades, eventually a layer, eventually a macro hatch. But what next? Jaedong really doesn't know that much, but he does know, hey, there's a Viking out. Now, this little bit of information is quite powerful. I've paused just before he has enough to get the layer. When this extractor goes down, Jaedong can actually build 2 evolution chambers and get the 1/1 upgrades right when they finish. It's not really so much a matter of economy. But by seeing this Viking, Jaedong now has the clean opportunity to go straight for a layer. Now, what makes this so safe? We can go fast Mutalisk knowing that he is very unlikely to actually have that many Marines. Because he built a starport. Do you see any barracks? Because I don't see any barracks, my friend. Ain't no barracks anymore. Dum, dum, dum. Only darkness every day. I love that song. Ain't no sunshine which is gone. Alright, cool. Other just good timings when your hatch is halfway to being a layer. Get the other 2 geysers up so you got foe in the dough. For show. The Zerglings that were once upon a time up here, a couple more have been added. I don't want to spend forever talking about these little details because then we won't actually be done. But still notice that Jaedong avoids the center aggressively. These Zerglings are spending a long time sweeping around these outer flanks here, up to this side, or earlier in the game over to this side. Almost never are they anywhere near the center where there's a watchtower. And we see even that there's a... This is the Viking that's going around hunting overlords. I mean, Jaedong's doing a very smart job positioning the Zerglings where? Right by where the last overlord was killed. And if you don't believe me, let's journey to 734, shall we? Let us see Exhibit A! Damn it, he just killed it. Okay, it's at 720. I'm really sorry. Yeah. If Jaedong just lost an overlord here, TaeJa is less likely to be scouting in this general direction. He's likely to want to scout over in this direction. So by the time that we're at 926, which is not a specific moment in time, it's just when I accidentally clicked. I guess more like 8:55 when we literally were. Come on. Alright, cool. We see that the Zerglings are up here. Very unusual to scout in that position. Now the Overlord's been taken down. So if we had to sum up everything that we've seen now, we would, because that's what we do at the end of Part 1. In Part 1 we discussed what some of the standard tenets of ZBT are. You're going to get Lings and Banelings and Mutas to battle Marine, Mind, and Medevac. Ah, seems as though the matchup has been solved, has it not? Hell no. Jaedong's solved it even better and harder and stronger and faster and with more mass appeal. And the way in which we're seeing this done... This is just turning into a tangent. Shit, I'm starting to get giggly. Okay, I gotta hold it together and then I'll giggle in the break. I'll titter quietly. Here's what we learned. First of all, we learned this rather advanced notion of saving larvae. You can hover at 1 to 2 larvae at a hatch, and so long as you don't hang at 3, you don't lose any larvae. So it allows Jaedong to do a very aggressive 10-pool opening without missing out on some of the benefits that you'd get of doing a more macro-oriented thing. Obviously going to lose out on some, but not as much. Kind of cool. Second thing we talked about is this notion of convergence. Everything, no matter how we begin, will reach these convergence points. One of the early convergence points is having 2 hatch, Zergling speed coming, lots of queen spreading creep and holding off Hellions while our third gets up. A later convergence point will be us having 4 macro hatches, 2 evolution chambers, 4 hatches total, 2 evolution chambers, and Ling Bane Ling Muta. Convergence points to the other one. And the third one, we talked about this very subtle positioning stuff that Jaedong's doing that's very, very smart. He's trying to accept Hellions to come in so he can counterattack. When he sees nothing, he's moving in with his Overlord and the Zerglings at the front to be able to either scout or do damage. He's repositioning Zerglings based upon what TaeJa's seen. TaeJa killed off that Overlord at the end, so he repositions his Zergling there because it's unlikely for TaeJa to scout that again. In part 2, we're going to be stepping into the mid-game. This is the part where most players know how to set everything up, and Jaedong does too. So we're certainly going to talk about the usual setup, but in particular we're going to start to see how this moving around the flanks style creates a number of new problems for Jaedong, but also new opportunities. Bam! That was, oh, I did the shit out of that part 1. Oh my god, are we going to come back in a bit. Hot damn! Hot